Imagine being granted limitless wealth by a divine entity, only to learn the catch. Every Sunday at midnight, a ruthless killer with a massive scythe comes hunting you. This is Aaron's reality, the richest man alive, yet utterly desperate now trapped inside the Goblin King's impenetrable castle. Meanwhile, Noah, his overly dramatic cellmate, tries to write her will through tears. Aaron, however, can't help but smile for one reason. He hopes the goblin's deadly traps will finally be enough to stop the hooded woman who's chased him through forests, cities, and nightmares. But when the clock strikes midnight and the ceiling begins to shake, he realizes not even an army of monsters can shield him from the price fate demands. You already know, if you're a real one, drop a like right at the start and hype this up as much as you can. Check if you're subscribed and make sure notifications are on. Now, no more stalling, let's jump into this amazing story. Regret hits Aaron all at once as he silently curses the decision that led him here. He accepts that nothing given freely truly comes without a cost. His grip tightens around the pen as he realizes this so-called gift was never meant to help him. He writes, acknowledging that fate never gives without taking something in return. He leaves a warning on the page. A sudden voice calls out, asking what he's doing. Aaron brushes it off, saying it's nothing serious. He falls quiet. He looks up and asks what's wrong with her. Noah stammers, insisting it's nothing. She asks why he's writing with a smile on his face. Her voice rises as she demands how anyone could face writing a will without fear or tears, insisting he break down already. He responds casually, downplaying the place as less terrifying than it seems. She repeats his words in disbelief. She reminds him they're imprisoned in the Goblin King's castle. She explains the king's reputation, how he spent years turning his home into a near-immortal, impenetrable death trap. They say even the kingdom's most elite knights can't get through its defenses. She tells the story of a duke who led an entire army to rescue his captured daughter. No one made it. The Goblin King wiped out the entire force. Aaron leans forward stunned. She confirms it, adding that the duke was a friend of the girl's father. Aaron's face suddenly brightens as he realizes something, catching Noah off guard. He thinks that if the Goblin King is truly that powerful, then the slug won't be able to reach him. She watches him closely, unable to understand how he can still smile after everything. Her lips tremble as she struggles to hold herself together. She finally breaks down crying. She keeps crying while he rests his head against the cell wall. Beside him, she wipes her eyes and mutters an insult. Thinking about her absent father and the prisoners who keep disappearing, she decides to leave something behind in case she vanishes too. She looks at him again through the bars as he hums softly. She notices the book and pen resting on his lap. She hesitates, gathers her courage and calls out to him. She asks to borrow paper and a pen. He turns, surprised, realizing she wants to write a farewell. She admits she can't stand the thought of disappearing without leaving a single word, but he refuses to give her anything. She starts to thank him, then stops herself as she realizes he's refusing. Frustration bursts out and she snaps back at him. He explains the notebook is designed so pages can't easily be torn out. Her expression shifts into a strange, calm smile. When she suggests taking the entire notebook, he immediately pulls back and insists it's all he has left as his will. He turns his face away, hesitating as if choosing his words. He complains about how absurd it is to just hand over something as personal as a diary. She fires back, shouting that none of it matters since they're all going to die anyway. Her anger rises as she tells him to stop acting so calm and just give it to her. He refuses outright, without hesitation. She freezes, her face filled with frustration and disbelief. Her anger explodes, and she threatens him. She lunges forward, squeezing herself between the iron bars. She pushes too far and gets stuck. He looks at her and asks what she thinks she's doing. Tears stream down as panic replaces her anger, and she screams that she's stuck. He stays silent for a moment, then covers his mouth and starts laughing. He steps closer and calmly explains a plan to push her back through. He places his hands on her face to steady her, and gets ready to explain. A sudden noise freezes him, and fear spreads across his face. He realizes in horror that midnight has arrived. The ceiling starts shaking as they both look up. He whispers in panic that she's back. His thoughts spiral as he remembers that no matter where he hides, the woman shows up every Sunday before dawn. A hooded figure approaches, carrying a massive scythe with a goblin's head dangling beside it. The slug looks ready to take Aaron's life. He recalls his mother saying that nothing in this world comes without a price. She tells him to remember that before sending him on an errand. His younger self stares, confused by the sudden task. That confusion still lingers in the present. A divine being offers him endless wealth while revealing the cost behind it. He stands firm and refuses any free miracle. Relief washes over him, as he believes heaven acknowledged his good deeds. He asks one last practical question about whether he can fight back if attacked. The divine being makes it clear that from that point on, everything is his problem. He relaxes, closes his eyes and imagines how easy it will be. The memory shifts to him living in luxury while paying for protection. Thunder cracks across the sky and lightning lights up the mansion. A hooded figure appears at the entrance, leaving him stunned. Panic grips his chest as he stammers, a red eye locking onto him. His breathing freezes from fear. He forces an awkward smile, trying to ease the tension. It fails instantly and chaos erupts. A gold coin rolls across the floor and stops at her feet, but she doesn't move. She stares at him silently, gripping the scythe. He swallows hard. Realizing the situation, he screams and runs. The slug stays indifferent and doesn't even bother chasing him. The clock strikes midnight. He jolts awake in terror, realizing she has already found him. This repeats across many nights as he runs through forests and camps. No matter where he goes, once midnight hits, escape never lasts. He collapses from exhaustion, calling gods and miracles a lie, practically inviting death out of sheer fatigue. She stands before him in silence, raising her weapon. Fear shatters and survival instinct kicks back in hard. The scythe lifts to strike. He bolts in panic, apologizing as he runs. He stops in front of the Goblin King's castle. He thinks even the air there feels violent, and anyone taken inside is doomed. Goblins appear, shouting threats and telling him to leave or be dragged inside. He smirks arrogantly and fires back with insults. The goblins freeze as they process what he said. Rage explodes and they swear to kill him on the spot. Everything goes wrong in an instant. The slug appears, staring at him as he realizes in shock she found him there too. Sweat runs down his face as fear tightens his throat. She adjusts her grip and tilts her head slightly. Noah, in the nearby cell, watches everything in silence. She hesitates, still sweating. She starts begging, and in the next second, the wall explodes violently. Noah is left in shock. Eren ducks as the attack nearly hits him. Both tremble as the slug approaches. She raises her weapon, and Eren realizes this might truly be the end. Noah screams and cries desperately from the other cell. That draws the slug's attention, and she looks in that direction. Something clicks in Eren's mind, and his expression turns serious. He moves at the perfect moment and reaches into his bag. The slug looks back and notices the sudden movement. He lifts a small sphere in his hand as he carries out his plan. He throws it to the ground, and smoke quickly fills the entire area. The slug remains inside the smoke as Eren says his goodbye. He jumps through the Rosroosh walls, carrying Noah. She doesn't understand what's happening. They both fall as he keeps taunting the slug. She watches calmly while they continue falling. Eren uses a parachute to slow their descent. The slug turns her back and starts walking away. She stops beside the Goblin King's head, pauses briefly, then kicks it off the cliff with a cold look. The Goblin King's castle appears in the distance through binoculars. Someone grips the binoculars tightly while watching the area, and Kent studies the surroundings with mercenaries behind him, hidden behind a rock. Kent asks to confirm if they're really mercenaries, and one of them says yes. Kent tells them to be patient, but demands to know why they haven't attacked yet. One of the mercenaries steps forward and begins explaining urgently. He says the fortress is hard to breach and rushing in blindly would be a disaster. Kent's eyes narrow as he listens. He snaps again, yelling for them to hurry up. He reminds them how much gold he paid and insists they move to rescue his daughter. Panic and guilt flooding his mind as he imagines her suffering among goblins. The mercenary leader thinks the girl was captured weeks ago and that the worst has probably already happened. He silently admits that without the massive payment, he would have never taken the job. Kent holds a large sack of gold, the promised reward. He raises 2 fingers and reveals there are actually 2 bags. The leader calls everyone over and declares they're going to kill the Goblin King. People nearby whisper, realizing the mercenaries chose money over their own lives. The group moves through the city, their faces filled with confusion and fear. Anxiety grows as they question whether the Goblin King is truly that powerful. The leader weighs his reputation against survival, deciding it's better to run than die if things go south. His expression shifts when he notices Kent intercepting them. Kent snaps again, demanding an immediate night attack before dawn. The leader agrees to stage a distraction while secretly planning an escape route. He takes position and loudly confirms the order. He raises his arm and tells everyone to get ready. Tension rises as a strange disturbance ripples through the canyon. The leader turns and reports that it came from the direction of the goblin prison. He stares at the mountain, trying to grasp the scale of the explosion. Kent shouts again, ordering them to advance no matter the danger, reminding them he paid in full. The green-haired mage loses patience and tells him to shut up. Her gaze sharpens. A magic circle forms in her pupil as she senses a massive surge of mana coming from the prison. A violent vortex of energy wraps around the mountain, warping the night sky. She looks up in disbelief, realizing the presence is monstrous. Her expression tightens as she feels something is wrong. The others panic and ask what's happening. She explains that the huge mana signature suddenly vanished and assumes the worst. Kent interrupts as he appears behind them. He breaks down, begging them to stop stalling and save his daughter. The mage and the leader reluctantly agree and decide to begin the attack. A violent tremor shakes the mountain as something explodes near the prison. The mercenaries look up in shock as the goblin prison blows apart. Panic spreads as Kent desperately scans the sky and notices movement above. He sees figures falling from the cliff. Everyone watches in disbelief as a parachute opens between the canyon walls. Eren descends slowly, carrying Noah. He lands firmly as the parachute drops behind him. He mutters in irritation that the rescue turned into a mess. He looks around at the stunned crowd and wonders why so many people are there. He adjusts Noah in his arms. His expression turns serious as he suddenly notices something. Kent, in desperation, recognizes his daughter and runs toward her. In disbelief, Eren hesitates for a moment but quickly understands. He calmly tells Noah her father is there while holding her more securely. Her eyes slowly open, confused. Emotion overwhelms her, and she starts crying as she calls for her father, while Kent freezes, barely able to breathe at the sight of her. Relief turns into anger, and he rushes forward, accusing Eren of hurting her. Eren hesitates to respond to the sudden reaction. The Goblin King's head drops to the ground before he can finish speaking. He looks and sees the shattered head on the ground, mocking it for being useless. Kent trembles in shock as Eren turns toward him. Eren asks what Kent just said about him. Kent suddenly changes his tone, praising Eren with exaggerated enthusiasm and misplaced gratitude. He keeps talking awkwardly, making the situation uncomfortable. Eren opens his mouth, in disbelief. The Kent family estate appears under a clear sky in the city. A fist slams onto the table as frustration finally bursts out. Eren curses himself and grabs his head, slipping into despair. Noah and Kent press their heads against the closed door, trying to listen. Noah hears Eren's anger and wonders what he's doing. Kent presses his lips together as his mustache trembles, reflecting that even legends have flaws. Noah asks why they called him a legend. He softens and asks her to come back inside with him. A cup of tea is set on the table as they talk. He admits that before they thought Eren was just an ordinary worker. He says caution saved him and that memory still bothers him. Noah reacts in surprise. His expression turns serious as he says famous isn't enough to describe him. He searches for the right words and explains that Eren is known as the lone hero in the Southern Territories. She repeats the title with curiosity and comments that it sounds embarrassing. Her father immediately corrects her, saying that even if the name sounds ridiculous, it fits Eren perfectly. She grows slightly discouraged as she realizes something. Silence fills the room as Kent watches Noah sitting uncomfortably. He reassures her that his judgment has never been wrong. She remains confused. He steps closer and suggests there's more to it. He asks if she really believes this was the first time Eren did something like this. Her mind jumps to the worst conclusion, which she expresses hesitantly. He raises 2 fingers to get her attention. He reveals that Eren once infiltrated a demon den alone. Her eyes widen as she grasps the scale of that. He emphasizes that Eren faced every danger alone without backing down. He recalls stories of Eren taking on monstrous enemies by himself, always prepared. Kent swells with pride and places a hand on his chest in admiration. He turns away, satisfied with himself, as Noah begins to understand what happened between them. He shifts to a more serious tone and explains there are countless rumors about this mysterious figure. He introduces the first point, the notebook Eren always carries. Noah recognizes it right away and remembers he never let anyone borrow it. He explains the book lists the names of the most brutal monsters imaginable. A scene shows Eren writing frantically. He moves on to the second point. Eren owns a glider. The glider sits on the table in front of him. Eren praises it for saving his life many times against the slug. Then the third point is revealed, stating that many witnesses of his battles heard desperate screams. Noah steps back, confused. A memory appears of blood-soaked battlefields, where no one understood his behavior until the truth became clear. He wasn't begging to be saved from enemies, but from the endless slaughter. Eren collapses from exhaustion, murmuring pleas in his sleep. Noah clenches her hands and calls out to him, shaken by the weight of the story. Kent presents the fourth point, and says it's what he admires most. He explains that even though Eren hates fighting and bloodshed, he's always drained after every clash. He emphasizes that Eren never allows himself to rest. Eren rushes out to save more lives in the brief moments between battles. Kent finishes his story while Eren sits there, worn out. Eren asks for a break and complains about how punctual the slug is. Kent places a hand on his chest, showing absolute reverence as if standing before a living god. Noah calls to him softly. Her hands tighten as emotion overflows. She breaks down and makes an impulsive decision. Driven by admiration and tears, Kent panics immediately and tries to stop her before she goes through with it. Eren slams his hand down hard, in disbelief. He refuses to accept that fate and declares he won't be taken down so easily. He raises his fist and shouts with confidence. The slug sneezes when mentioned. She pauses briefly, then keeps walking. Noah approaches with a cup of tea and offers it to Eren. Eren waits by the table, looks up and politely refuses. She returns with a small cake and offers again. He declines once more. Then she brings a large bowl of chicken soup. He lowers his head onto the book and refuses again. She tries to speak again, but he cuts her off and asks if she has nothing else to do today. She freezes, admitting she only came because she thought he might be alone. She shyly assures him she's not bothering him. Eren smiles with his eyes closed. He covers his face in frustration, thinking she definitely is. He wonders how she can miss all the signs. His thoughts drift to the day before, remembering he already found her dramatic even after saving her. His eyes widen as he realizes something important. He stiffens and clutches his chest as he remembers the time that has passed. Sweat forms on his face as he worries about how unprepared he still is. Noah suddenly appears in front of him and notices his strange reaction. He looks away awkwardly and says it's nothing important. She steps closer and asks again. Eren closes his eyes with a small, confident smile and finally speaks to her directly. He leans in and casually asks if she has any plans for today. Noah freezes as a dramatic thought crosses her mind. Her imagination runs wild with different future scenarios. She hides her face in embarrassment while Eren is left completely confused. He awkwardly says he's heading out for a while. Noah startles as she realizes what that could mean for her. Her expression shifts to determination, her eyes lighting up with excitement. She answers enthusiastically, surprising Eren with her reaction. Noah walks behind him along the quiet street. Her expression turns confident as she mentally celebrates how everything seems to be going right. Suddenly, she starts explaining things like it's a lesson. She says when a girl takes the initiative, the guy usually overthinks and gives a vague answer. She outlines a strategy, casually suggesting an option. She says the goal is to pick the place but make it seem like it was his idea. She glances at Aaron and smiles, praising herself internally. She finally asks where he wants to go. She congratulates herself in her head, but her calm breaks when he mentions the alchemy workshop. She is shocked that he chose something so specific. Aaron looks sideways and asks what's wrong. Noah quickly plays it off, saying everything's fine. The lit-up city reveals the alchemy workshop. They walk side by side down the street. She explains it's the largest workshop in the area. They stop at the counter, where an employee is asleep. Aaron taps the counter to get his attention and asks if he can spare a moment. The attendant looks up and asks what he needs. Aaron gets straight to the point. The attendant flinches and immediately steps back. Noah smiles as she watches. She steps forward confidently, trying to take control of the situation. Aaron tosses a bag of gold onto the counter, shocking the attendant, who bursts into anger. Aaron throws another bag of gold, leaving them even more stunned. The attendant shouts, offended. Aaron tosses another bag, scattering coins everywhere. He keeps piling on more sacks. The attendant imagines a mountain of gold. An older alchemist steps in and says he'll handle it personally. Aaron agrees, still holding another bag of gold. After a while, the shop calms down. Several bags of money are lined up on the counter. Noah notices how quickly money changes everything. Aaron looks over and asks Jin if the glider puppet is in good condition. Odin replies while working, saying the mechanism is extremely delicate and far beyond ordinary. Aaron comments that the item wasn't made by just a craftsman, but also an alchemist. He pauses mid-sentence, trying to recall the name Stahl. Odin immediately stops. He stands up, surprised at the name. Aaron confirms it and asks why it matters. Odin reacts irritably, asking how he could not know. He states that Stahl is the most famous alchemist in the kingdom. Aaron acknowledges it calmly. Odin shouts that calling him merely famous is a massive understatement. Aaron explains that Stahl first refused and only agreed after being offered an absurd amount. Odin freezes, wondering if he underestimated the scale of that payment. The realization hits as he understands it wasn't excessive, but the bare minimum. Those words echo in his mind as his pride takes a direct hit. He realizes how far beyond him this task really is. He sits alone at the table in heavy silence, while faint voices murmur in the background. Aaron leans forward and asks if something's wrong. Odin keeps working without looking up and asks them to wait while he finishes the repair. Aaron politely replies that they'll let him work. After some time, Odin places the repaired glider on the counter. Aaron reacts with surprise at how fast it was done. He turns the item in his hands, wondering if it was really that simple. Odin casually explains it was never difficult, and questions why it would take long. He adds that the mechanism will never fail, as long as it isn't used. Aaron tests it, and the mechanism starts spinning. Suddenly, the parachute deploys. Odin's face twists as he sees what happens. The parachute symbol appears like a raised middle finger. Aaron immediately gives a thumbs up and praises the result. Odin demands to know why he activated it. Aaron quickly offers to pay again for the repair. Odin freezes at the offer and the sincerity. He crosses his arms and demands extra payment. Aaron agrees instantly and compliments his skill. Odin swells with pride and says his technique comes from a long line of craftsmen. Aaron urgently asks for help creating a device to restrain people. Odin reacts quickly and asks what kind of tool he needs. He dramatically presents a powerful seal used even by city guards to restrain major threats. Aaron comments that something meant for giants won't solve his problem. Odin changes approach and suggests brutal chains used in the capital for the most dangerous prisoners. Aaron calmly replies that he already knows that device and has broken several of them. Odin keeps thinking, insisting he still has options. He presents an even more extreme restraint designed for uncontrollable giants. The pitch escalates further as he mentions a legendary device capable of binding even dragons. The speech cuts off abruptly when the mere mention irritates Aaron. Odin falls silent with a forced smile, realizing he might be pushing too far. Aaron calmly explains he wants something simple and straightforward. Odin counters that if it's that simple, slime mucus would already do the job perfectly. He turns away and recalls a basic method of processing slimes. His voice fades as his confidence drops mid-explanation. It suddenly clicks, and panic sets in when he notices Aaron's reaction. Aaron smiles, eyes shining while holding the bags of money. Odin grips the money as his master reviews the designs. He steps closer and studies the drawings. Frustration explodes when he realizes the design is nothing more than a crude scribble. His master stares at the rough sketches and tries to explain, then stops himself. He completely loses composure at the thought of losing all that money. A public announcement draws a crowd, and people react in disbelief. Adventurers quickly grab their weapons, preparing to take the job. Slimes appear across the fields outside the city. The group rushes forward, shouting and competing over who gets the reward first. Noah eats calmly. She finishes and politely says she's done. She announces she's heading to the alchemy workshop and leaves immediately. Kent and the butler talk about how close she's gotten to Aaron. Kent worries Aaron won't have enough money to support her and orders the butler to bring money right away. The butler agrees without hesitation. Someone asks what he meant by that, and the butler replies the money would be used to hire an assassin to eliminate Aaron, making the person stare at him as he starts sweating. He questions that idea and says the gold is meant to pay Aaron. He grabs 2 bags of gold and heads toward the alchemy workshop. He stops at the entrance and wonders if he's in the right place. He shouts in surprise when he sees the workshop filled with defeated slimes. Someone yells at him to move out of the way. An adventurer rushes in, pushing a cart loaded with dead slimes. He excitedly announces that every slime in the area has been wiped out while Kent stands there in shock. Another cart arrives just as Aaron announces payment. The adventurers cheer and welcome him enthusiastically. Odin grabs a small knife to open the sacks. Aaron lines everyone up and tells them to stay calm. Kent watches in disbelief as he realizes how much each person will be paid. Noah shows up and asks what her father is doing there. Kent jumps when she calls him. She demands to know why he's there with so much money, and he awkwardly explains that he saw she had a suitor and brought funds to help. He tightens his grip on the bags and says pride can't be ignored. Noah reflects that lately she's been seeing what pride really means during her time at the alchemy workshop. She remembers how Eren has been working alongside Odin. She watches them walking out together carrying a container of slime. She praises Odin while Eren also acknowledges his skill. Noah holds a cup of tea and thinks about finally having a day away from the workshop. She wonders how Odin plans to keep Eren away from her. The idea of spending an entire day with Eren excites her as she enters his room. Eren is hunched over the table and Noah calls out to him, worried. She rushes over and asks if he's okay. He turns surprised and says her name. He tries to brush it off, saying he was just thinking. She steps closer, holding her chest, insisting he explain. He looks at her for a moment. He hesitates and warns he might end up saying too much. A sudden interruption happens when Odin rushes in, saying the slime gel weapon is ready. Eren says it's time to go. Odin pauses and asks if Noah is coming too. He senses a dangerous intent coming his way. Noah answers with a strange smile, saying she's going along. Odin proudly prepares to present his creation. He shows the weapon and confidently describes its explosive power and range, explaining it was made using all the slimes collected nearby. Odin's master tries to give the weapon a name and announce it. He reveals the full project and gives Eren credit for helping. Odin casually remarks that the weapon looks simple. Eren studies it closely and gets ready to speak. The workers around them tense up. Eren declares the weapon is amazing and exactly what he needed. A giant beneath a cliff near the city comments that the human festival will leave the city's defenses weaker. He gathers his forces and declares it's time to show their strength to humans through direct action. The giants roar about their return and demand the city be destroyed and taken over. Another giant notices something odd on the battlefield. He scratches his head and admits he planned to eat some slimes during the attack. Eren pauses mid-page when the mention of the Lantern Festival catches his attention and pulls him from his thoughts. He looks up from the book, confused. Noah excitedly explains that it's one of the most dazzling celebrations in the city of Grimler. Eren dismisses the idea that luck has ever been on his side. He casually asks when the festival takes place. Noah answers without hesitation, but the date lingers in his mind with an uneasy feeling. Noah describes how the city releases lanterns into the sky that night. She talks about hundreds of lanterns rising together, lighting up the city with a soft glow. She mentions wishes being sent into the endless sky. Suddenly, panic erupts as the crowd screams about a monster and a killer. The slug appears, making it clear she will find him. No matter where he runs, Noah keeps talking excitedly about how the festival fills the streets with food stalls that only show up once a year. She eagerly points out her favorite stand and insists on getting skewers from a place that only opens during the event. A vendor hands over hot skewers and tells them to eat quickly while the festival is still going. The slug appears again and warns that tomorrow will never come for him. Both think about the festival, but with completely different feelings. They both admit they can't ignore that feeling. Noah calls out to Eren. She hesitates when Odin suddenly walks in and calls him. Her expression softens into a smile after a brief pause. Suddenly, Noah slams the table and shouts at Odin. A heavy tension fills the air like a storm about to break as she stares him down. Eren quickly brushes off the tension and announces he's going to the Lantern Festival, then turns with determination and says they should go together. The city bursts into celebration, with flags and confetti filling the streets. Noah's expression tightens as she realizes how much she had been waiting for this moment. Eren calmly takes another bite of a skewer. Some pieces fall to the ground. He compliments the food for being authentic. The stall owner praises him for eating so many meat skewers at once. The vendor hands over a special item reserved for those who manage to eat 10 skewers. Eren and Noah look at the reward with admiration. He calls Noah, and she assumes the gift is for her. He gets excited and proudly shows off the item. Noah ends up holding both the skewer and the bracelets in her hands. The vendor apologizes and explains there are only 2 bracelets, and the other one has already been sold. Noah freezes as she realizes another girl has the matching bracelet. She imagines someone else in the city wearing the same one as Eren. To play it off, she asks for more skewers while Eren laughs. Quietly, she notices he actually put the bracelet on. Back on the crowded street, the festival noise continues as Noah orders even more drinks, hiccups lightly, and Eren asks if she's okay. She laughs and excitedly explains that the city always sets off fireworks close to midnight. A spark shoots into the sky, followed by a burst of colors. Both are surprised as fireworks light up the lantern-filled streets. Noah turns, eyes shining, and excitedly points at the show. Eren watches in silence, realizing how long it's been since he felt this calm. She mentions she usually comes alone since her father is always busy. He apologizes and decides he needs to leave right away. She admits spending the festival with him was genuinely fun. An explosion shakes the street, sending smoke and debris everywhere. A guard shouts in panic as he realizes giants are invading the city. People panic and run in every direction. Noah tells Eren to run as debris falls around them. She hesitates for a moment and looks back. Her eyes widen when she realizes he's gone. Shadows move through the city as things turn dangerous. Footsteps echo through empty streets. A hooded figure appears. Eren faces the slug directly and recognizes her presence. His eyes widen as he notices something. He looks closer and confirms his suspicion. A small dango bracelet hanging from her hand catches his attention. Eren steps back as he notices the same bracelet on his own wrist and freezes in shock. He stammers, realizing they both have matching bracelets. He demands to know why she has it. He recalls the vendor saying there were only 2, and realizes another girl bought the second. He repeats that while staring at her. He points at her and mocks her for not even looking like a girl. He starts accusing her, asking if she stole it from someone defenseless. She responds with nothing but a blank stare. She calmly raises her scythe. He watches and says that reaction is exactly what he expected. She lunges with the scythe as he prepares himself. She spins and strikes with force while he aims his weapon. He fires slime at point-blank range. The slime bursts and completely engulfs her. She gets trapped inside the gelatinous mass. Noah runs through the chaos as people flee. She struggles to breathe as she pushes forward. She stumbles into someone and crashes hard onto the ground. She tries to move but gets stuck. She struggles to stand, shaking. She wonders why Eren abandoned her. She thinks she never mattered to him. Bitterness takes over as she grips her dress and curses men who walk away without a second thought. She forces herself to stand despite the pain and declares that from now on she'll rely only on herself. Her eyes harden as she wipes away her tears. She pulls herself together and vows to survive. Eren lowers his weapon and observes the result. He looks at the massive slime in front of him and wonders if it worked. He realizes the air inside the slime is running out. He notes how much time has passed as he circles the mass. Relief starts to set in as he thinks he's finally defeated the slug. He laughs loudly at the slime and taunts it, believing his plan succeeded. His anger flares as he remembers everything he went through. Suddenly the slime starts to writhe. A hand emerges from within. She breaks free completely. While he keeps talking, she pulls the scythe out of the slime, pulls up her hood, and slowly walks toward him. He suddenly stops, still mocking but quickly notices something. He shouts in shock as it looks like a corpse rising behind him. Noah pushes through the fleeing crowd and bumps into a man. He freezes while she looks ahead. A group of armored giants blocks the path. One giant declares the city now belongs to them. Another strikes his ally in frustration and starts giving orders about supplies. The leader regains control and orders them to secure the loot first. While others deal with civilians, the giants agree and receive orders to capture children for food and kill any adult who resists. The giants advance as terrified citizens retreat. A mother shields her crying child and desperately tries to calm him as fear spreads through the crowd. Her eyes harden as she sees a giant approaching. She begs for help while clutching her child, but no one dares to step forward. Tears stream down her face as she keeps pleading. She begs them to save her child, and one of the giants mocks her. An angry shout cuts through the noise. Noah pushes through the crowd and demands the child be released. The giant picks at his ear and asks if she can even hear herself. He questions who she thinks she is to give him orders. She yells that he should take supplies only and not kill people. The giant laughs and says she's exactly who they've been looking for. Noah panics and demands he let go. He threatens her, saying something could easily happen to a pretty girl like her. Fear overwhelms her as she begs him to stop touching her. Tears run down her face as she desperately tries to push the giant's fingers away. The giant tears her dress as she begs him to stop. She keeps crying and screaming for him to let go. An explosion hits the giant's head, and he slowly collapses. Noah falls to the ground as Kent rushes over in horror. Kent drops to his knees beside her, panicking as he asks if she's hurt. She can barely answer, and he pulls her into a tight hug, trying to calm her down. Odin urgently reports that the Lord and the soldiers escaped without them. She hesitates as she tries to speak. The giant mocks them for thinking they can still escape after everything. He grows furious after being hit by an alchemy cannon and slams his own head as his rage builds. He declares that everyone will die. Kent charges with his blade, swearing the giant will fall before touching his daughter. The ogre laughs and accepts the challenge, and Kent nervously backtracks, saying it was just a figure of speech. Noah grabs a sword and shouts that she'll fight to protect her father. Kent desperately tells her to run away with Odin. The giant spreads his arms and invites her to attack. Odin readies his cannon and promises to back her up. Noah answers with fury, gripping her sword as Odin stands beside her. Her eyes narrow with determination. She shouts her challenge and rushes forward. The giant accepts the fight and prepares as she leaps toward him. Kent screams her name in terror. As the clash begins, her attack fails when she trips on the ground. She freezes as the giant stares down at her. He laughs at her clumsy fall and mocks her attempt. The giant taunts her and hands back her sword so she can try again. He assures her he won't kill her. He suddenly twists as an explosion hits his shoulder. Odin fires his cannon and yells for the giant to stop threatening them. He grits his teeth, remembering he's still in the fight. The giant dismisses him as nothing but an annoyance. The ogre charges, strikes Odin and sends him flying. Odin slides across the ground. The giant declares the game is over and orders everyone to be killed. Noah freezes when she hears it. The ogre gathers his men and proposes a twisted contest to see who kills the most. As his soldiers cheer, heavy footsteps echo while someone shouts for everyone to move immediately. The giant stops mid-taunt when he notices something. Eren runs down the street, yelling for people to clear the way. He pushes through the giants, forcing a path. His sprint cuts through the crowd as people stumble back. Luona starts running after him. One of the giants laughs at the fleeing human and mocks the attempt. A blur shoots across the street, and the giants stiffen as they're struck by something unseen. Noah grabs Eren and pulls him into a hug, shouting that he came back. The crowd erupts, recognizing Eren as the one who took down the giant with a single blow. They cheer him as a hero while Eren looks overwhelmed with Noah clinging to him. Eren suddenly turns as he senses the slug approaching. He runs through the empty street while she chases him. An hour earlier, he wonders why she's moving faster. He stops to listen near the city walls and realizes it's a miracle as crystals form on his boots while he approaches the wall. He jumps and wonders if slugs can fly. He steps onto the wall and climbs to the top, praising himself. He realizes too late that slugs can climb walls when she starts scaling after him. Back in the present, the crowd celebrates Aaron's return. Sweat runs down his face as he realizes everything is spiraling out of control. The slug slowly approaches the giants she defeated. She thinks about the meatball vendor and comments on how good they tasted while the survivors gather around Aaron. She hesitates and admits she can't stay. She decides to leave for now and promises there will be another chance later. Aaron looks around confused as he realizes she's gone. He wonders why she disappeared as suddenly as she showed up. He feels like he barely made it out alive. The slug raises her arms and calls his name. Aaron jolts awake in bed, clutching his chest as Noah panics beside him. Noah scolds him for worrying everyone, half crying and half relieved he didn't run off. She starts explaining everything that happened while he listens in silence. Aaron reflects that the slug wiped out the giants and made everyone believe he was responsible. His thoughts stop when he remembers the strange meatball bracelet on her wrist. He stands up and says he needs to check something, telling Noah to rest. Noah watches him leave and wonders if he's worried about her. She smiles again, convinced he cares about her. Her thoughts spiral into exaggerated logic as she rolls around on the bed. Lost in romantic fantasies, she imagines herself at the meatball stall as a future wife, not a stalker. The shop owner casually mentions the girl who took a meatball bracelet and says she came back not long ago. The timing hits him as he realizes it was about half an hour ago. He understands she isn't some repeating NPC but a real person living her own life. The owner adds that she loves meatballs but her bracelet was dirty that day, so he replaced it with a new one. He hands over the old bracelet with a name engraved on the pendant. Aaron freezes when he sees the name Vera written on it. The owner confirms that the name on the bracelet must be hers. Aaron suddenly realizes that if she's a real person and not some programmed presence, then simply running away might actually work. Noah asks for a new meatball flavor while Aaron struggles with the idea of escaping a world without modern transportation. She notices him but sees he's lost in thought. She suggests staying with him for company, awkwardly clarifying she's not implying anything romantic. Her face suddenly turns red when the seasoning hits harder than expected. Chaos follows as the intense flavor overwhelms her, making the vendor laugh. A loud crash interrupts as workers struggle to carry a piece of armor that's impossibly heavy. Aaron notices the armor and is confused by how solid it is, even though it came from a golden giant. The workers comment that the armor remains perfectly intact, unlike the giant itself. One of them finally spots Aaron and calls out to him in surprise. The workers thank Aaron while he inspects the armor. He examines it closely and wonders what it's made of. The workshop workers discuss the armor's origin and who could even wear it. An older worker mentions he saw that armor in use back when he worked in the capital. He explains it's made from one of the toughest materials in the world. The younger workers praise him while Aaron keeps studying the armor. Tears start forming in his eyes as Noah watches, confused. She wonders why he's staring at the armor like that. Aaron is told that cold iron requires a special forging process and can't be produced locally. He immediately asks if the material is for sale, making it clear money isn't an issue. The craftsmen explain there's no stock of it and that the giants would never give up their tribe's greatest treasure. Aaron frowns as he realizes the idea is slipping further away. Suddenly he starts crying, imagining that forging cold iron armor would make him completely invincible. The craftsman quickly adds that cold iron is extremely heavy and nearly impossible to transport, and a flash of realization appears on Aaron's face. He slowly lifts his head and stares at the massive cage in front of him. He imagines trapping Vera inside a cage. He declares his intention to head north immediately and forge a cold iron cage on site. The gathered craftsmen look horrified as panic spreads. Noah's eyes widen as a thought hits her and she realizes stepping forward now could change everything. A romantic fantasy crosses her mind where Aaron praises her loyalty. She imagines townspeople warning him that giants see humans only as tools and enemies. Aaron imagines Vera fighting giants in the freezing cold. He connects the dots and realizes cold iron armor could solve multiple problems at once. The craftsmen panic, explaining that the northern roads are deadly and surviving without preparation is impossible. Aaron keeps imagining Vera freezing to death. He declares his plan complete and clenches his fist with renewed confidence. He announces his decision to go north and challenges anyone willing to follow him. The group immediately backs away in fear, leaving Jin frozen in place. Odin hesitates and glances around as he notices all eyes on him. A firm grip closes as Aaron calls him with complete certainty. Aaron grabs Odin's hand and praises him for standing by his side, leaving him stunned. Aaron leans in and declares their bond, calling Odin his closest ally. Odin panics and insists he can't go because of his apprentice contract. A formal transfer document appears, prepared and sealed among piles of coins. Odin is handed over abruptly. A quiet, simple transaction happens, contrasting with the chaos around them. Odin is dragged along the ground as Aaron moves forward without hesitation. They both look down as Jin clings desperately to the edge, begging not to be taken north. Noah gently interrupts as she leaves to speak with her father, while Aaron crouches beside the exhausted Odin and assures him he'll be paid properly. He confidently offers a generous monthly payment. Aaron and Odin stand before the large building that houses the Merchants Association. Odin questions why they would enter a place driven by greed and profit. A furious employee complains about margins while Aaron and Odin watch from a distance. The man finally notices them and turns around. His expression changes instantly. Recognizing the hero who saved the city and sensing an opportunity, he greedily decides to keep Eren satisfied and tie him down with long-term benefits. He introduces himself as the branch president and welcomes Eren with exaggerated politeness. Odin internally mocks how quickly the man lowers himself without any pressure. Eren directly states he needs to reach the northern lands by Sunday. The president freezes upon hearing that. He hesitantly suggests the request is far beyond what the association can normally handle. Eren calmly insists it's possible and presents a detailed list of preparations. The president reluctantly agrees to review it. His eyes widen as he reads the list. He stumbles over his words, shocked by the scale and absurdity of the demands. Eren raises his voice, emphasizing the need for carriages. The president loses patience internally and starts to believe Eren is mocking him. He tries to explain that unicorns are sacred and extremely rare. Not even royal ceremonies have easy access to them, but Eren ignores him and says money isn't an issue. The president stiffens and makes it clear that this goes far beyond money. He explains that the association runs on a strict VIP ranking system, and Eren doesn't meet the criteria. Eren brings up the Red Rope affiliation and its privileges, claiming he has it. He raises his hand and shows that he owns one of the red ropes. The president holds back a laugh and starts explaining the rules with a restrained smile. He clarifies that privileges depend on deposits, and Eren only qualifies for a single rope. Odin whispers, embarrassed. Eren tilts his head, then suddenly brightens as an idea hits him. He confidently announces that he actually has many red ropes. He reveals he had so many that he made a sweater out of them. The president's face freezes, then shifts into pure shock. Realizing what that implies, he drops to his knees and declares absolute loyalty to Eren. He promises to fulfill any request without hesitation. The red rope of the Merchants Association is described as a symbol of absolute authority and status, where rank increases with the number owned. A sweater made entirely of red ropes raises doubts about what level that represents. The president eagerly asks if there are more requests now that preparations have begun. Eren calmly asks whether leaving on Wednesday morning would be an issue. The president freezes, realizing how little time remains. Eren's firm gaze makes it clear he won't back down. The president quickly reassures him, insisting there's still enough time. He explains that a snow elf is an extremely rare existence and suggests someone like that goes beyond normal standards. Eren states with certainty that she will come. The snow elf sits by a window silently reading a document. An attendant praises her elegance. She recalls how the rose-colored city fell into chaos when monsters invaded its streets. The former lord is condemned as a coward who exploited the people. Lord Shell advanced alone to settle debts and negotiate directly with the lizardmen. Everyone feared the worst had happened to Shell when she disappeared beyond the city gates. She eventually returned injured but determined. The lizardmen who plagued the Rose City were wiped out. The townspeople debate who could have saved the city, doubt Shell's claims, and question the motive behind it. Rumors spread that the mysterious savior must have been someone powerful, backed by the Merchants Association and loaded with supplies. Tea is quietly offered. Shell accepts it gratefully from Tita. She silently wonders if it's truly right for her to take on the role of leader. The attendant reassures her immediately. A comment about a perfect man goes wrong and makes Eren sneeze. Shell watches her reflection and drifts into thought. Her gaze sharpens as a buried memory begins to surface. She remembers being hunted and mocked. The memory grows clearer when she was cornered and forced to fight approaching monsters. Eren runs while shouting in fear. Vera chases after him, swinging her scythe to catch up. She steps into mud and slips. She drops to her knees, lifting the scythe as she slides forward. When she swings it, the area explodes, sending the lizardmen flying while Eren escapes. Eren activates his boots as he prepares to jump. Vera and Eren lock eyes as the mud bursts apart. Eren stumbles and ends up face first on the ground. Desperate, he offers his red rope to Vera and begs her to save him. Vera accepts the rope without hesitation. The attendant openly criticizes Eren's arrogance. Shell turns to the attendant, confused as things spiral. The attendant explains that a man named Eren demanded Shell act as his guide. Shell immediately orders a carriage to be prepared. Kent declares that the trip to the northern lands will not happen. Noah protests, shocked and frustrated. She insists that Eren going north isn't the only reason she wanted to go, and that she simply wants to see the world. Kent grabs her cheeks and scolds her for being captivated by someone he considers dangerous. She struggles free and insists there's no danger since many people will be traveling together. He mocks her, saying Eren may be rich but has no real power. He partially relents, saying he'll only allow it if Eren can assemble the best expedition team in the country. She freezes for a moment, then bursts with joy at the unexpected approval. He laughs softly and tells her to drop the idea if it doesn't work out. A servant rushes in and urgently calls him to see what's happening outside. A caravan led by unicorns moves down the city's main avenue. People gather along both sides to watch the unexpected spectacle, reacting in disbelief at its scale. An ornate carriage advances through the crowd. Noah calls out to Eren excitedly. Eren stops near the carriage and thanks them for fulfilling his request while looking at the door. Shell and her assistant observe him silently from inside. Shell greets Eren as she steps out of the carriage. She loses her balance as she descends. Eren instinctively catches her. Noah is stunned, her expression going blank as she's overwhelmed by the moment. Eren leans in and teasingly asks Noah a small, provocative question. The situation spirals into an awkward misunderstanding, with bold statements being made. A loud protest cuts through the moment, as Noah ends up physically squeezed between both sides of the chaos. She suddenly snaps awake as concerned faces gather around, realizing she has regained consciousness. Everyone leans over her, asking why she suddenly fainted. As she tries to process where she is and who's there, Noah introduces herself shyly to Shell. Shell calmly introduces herself in return. Noah freezes upon seeing Shell's beauty and status. Eren casually states that Shell will be his guide to the northern lands. Noah struggles with the idea, questioning Shell's decision to leave her city and worrying about what might happen before they even reach the north. Noah steps forward and says she has something extremely important to say. Eren turns back, confused. Noah gathers her courage and sorts out her feelings. With panic and determination clashing inside her, she forces herself to speak. Her emotions burst as she finally confesses and declares she wants to go north with Eren. The moment falls silent as they stare at each other. Eren gives a confident thumbs up and says they'll leave at sunrise the next day. The city erupts in celebration as crowds gather along the walls and streets to cheer and send them off. The carriage moves forward while citizens wave and say their goodbyes. Eren's departure from the Radiant City marks the beginning of his long journey north and the legend that will follow him. A quiet close-up shows that someone else now seems to take priority as Noah mocks how close Shell is to Eren. She clenches her fist and crushes her food while thinking badly of Shell. Odin reacts when she pushes her opinion and demands agreement. He bites into his food, caught off guard by the sudden question. Noah's emotions fade as insecurity starts to take over. She hesitates, then convinces herself she still has the advantage. Odin pretends to agree with her awkward question. Noah instantly brightens and takes it as validation. She claims she can spend more time with Eren since Shell is busy running the city. She adds that Eren would naturally prefer someone younger and closer to him. She insists that being around him all the time has to count for something. She celebrates her own reasoning while Odin steps away. Exhausted, he leans on the railing as Eren approaches. Eren wraps an arm around him and excitedly announces they're entering dangerous northern territory. The two stand side by side as the mood shifts from light-hearted banter to the edge of a real adventure. Eren raises his voice, calling for order when the sudden meeting turns chaotic. He complains everything happened too fast and admits they haven't even chosen a chief officer yet. He makes an exaggerated gesture that earns disapproving looks. Odin hesitates to speak, but a firm grip interrupts him. The tension spikes as Eren seizes the moment and dramatically appeals to their friendship. He insists the position be taken seriously. The discussion continues outside as Odin lays out his conditions. Eren agrees but adds strict demands about daily headcounts and monitoring unknown passengers. Odin mocks the idea that anyone would willingly follow them to such a dangerous place. Night falls as the train moves forward, its wheels echoing through the darkness toward the north. Crates and sacks sit still while something shifts among them in the food storage wagon. A hidden figure lurks between the supplies. The stowaway is revealed near the crates, showing someone secretly joined the trip north. Vera quietly lifts a lantern inside the dark wagon, revealing her face. A crate bursts open, scattering coins and jewels everywhere, marking the moment the Radiant City was invaded by Titans. A giant watches as his companions are thrown and torn apart. Eren is suddenly surrounded by panicked civilians clinging to him. The giant screams that Eren is a demon and runs away in terror. He kneels before his leader, insisting he survived a terrifying monster. The chief praises him for surviving and accepts him into the tribe. The next day, the giant watches the city wall and mocks the chief for believing his lies. He looks through a telescope and spots a line of carriages approaching along a snow-covered road. He wonders how a human convoy managed to enter the northern lands. He adjusts the telescope to get a better look and focuses on an open carriage window. As he keeps watching, he sees Eren peeking out. He recognizes Eren's face and starts sweating. He runs while shouting a warning and calls for the chief. Eren remarks that they're almost there, while Odin razdrazedly tells him to close the window. Eren shuts it and tells everyone to stay alert. Odin warns them to be careful when dealing with giants. Eren asks what could possibly go wrong. They arrive at the giant's castle after passing the walls. While the unicorn collapses unconscious, Eren explains the unicorn got irritated by the cold. The chief approaches and hesitantly asks their purpose. Eren steps forward calmly and says he didn't come to cause trouble, but to make a deal. The guards interrupt, questioning what he's holding. Eren tries to check what's in his hands. The guards approach aggressively and start issuing orders. Assuming hostility, Eren reveals an apple and argues that food is exactly what they need, saying he brought supplies in exchange for a small amount of cold iron. The mention of cold iron visibly shakes the chief. A massive axe slams into the ground beside Eren. One of the giants explodes in anger, accusing Eren of mocking a sacred resource and provoking them. Eren ignores the outrage and insists his offer is genuine. He points to the wagons behind him and says they're filled with valuable goods. He boldly adds that he also brought large sums of money as part of the deal. Eren walks to the door and invites them to see the proof themselves. The moment it opens, a powerful blast of snow bursts outward. The castle gates open and torches are lit. Two goblins kneel and roll out a red carpet. Drinks are served in large cups. Cups clash loudly in a toast, sealing the deal inside the frozen hall. The chief raises his drink and declares that goblins and humans will share fate and honor from that moment on. The crowd cheers as the alliance is announced. Outside, a guard mutters that the chief has lost his mind for negotiating with a demon and suggests stealing food and fleeing before the humans leave. The carriage door slowly opens as he reaches for the handle. Vera lies among food and supplies inside the storage compartment. A giant watches her, realizing there's a human woman there who could be sold for a huge reward. He approaches, justifying his own cruelty. Vera turns toward him with a sharp, focused stare. She lunges and attacks, slicing the giant into pieces. Odin raises a horn and blows it to gather the giants. He stands on a rock beside Eren, coordinating the work below and warning everyone to stay alert during construction. He questions why they came all this way just to watch giants build what looks like an iron cage. Eren suggests danger is never far from him. He adds that he's learned to live with it, pulling his hood up dramatically. Odin turns and laughs, saying Eren has lost his mind. Noah watches everything from inside the carriage and wonders why they spend so much time together. She notes that the two are together again. Someone interrupts her, asking what she's doing, and Shell appears in front of her, making Noah nervously brush it off by saying she was just enjoying the view. Noah questions why a leader would abandon her duties to come here. Shell's expression turns serious as she begins explaining her true reason for being there. She leans in with a dreamy smile, convinced her connection with Eren is more than coincidence, while Noah reacts in disbelief, imagining hearts and fantasies as Shell settles in and Noah looks away confused. The group gathers outside in the snow when someone reports that an entire month's worth of food has vanished, and they realize Bako is missing. Eren gets internally irritated, blaming Vera for attacking earlier and stealing the supplies before disappearing. The chief steps forward and demands answers. He presses for explanations, making Eren visibly nervous as he tries to respond. A sharp interruption cuts him off before he can finish. Odin jumps in annoyed, pointing out the obvious flaw in the accusation. He questions why a giant would bother approaching a grain cart. The argument escalates as the missing food and nearby injuries are blamed on some massive creature. He accuses them of making baseless assumptions, and warns that reckless suspicion could destroy the fragile alliance they built. The chief is advised to look for a traitor among his own, or consider that a wild beast may have invaded the territory. The giants disperse with forced politeness, exchanging empty formalities while Eren watches Odin with pride. Odin insists Eren knows more than he's saying. He states with certainty that whatever killed the giant was not a wild animal. Eren hesitates, struggling to respond under pressure. A flash of realization appears in his blue eyes as a terrifying possibility forms. Panic builds as an old legend comes to mind. The tale speaks of an ancient village that angered a cruel god, whose wrath brought destruction and terror. A lone warrior stepped forward and swore to take on the curse meant for everyone. He promised the demon's hunt would fall only on him. The warrior was bound to an unavoidable curse, and wandered endlessly while fleeing from it. The story ends by showing that even when the villagers believed they found a solution, death had already taken its toll. Odin is shaken as he realizes the curse described might be the same one tied to Eren. Eren panics internally, trying to think of a response that won't make things worse. An idea suddenly sparks, and Odin directly links the legend to Eren. Odin brushes off the concern and reassures him. He declares he won't let Eren die. Eren questions why he should feel inspired instead of worried. The construction is completed, revealing a massive iron cage rising over the rocky ground. The chief questions the purpose of such a large cage made of cold iron and worries about how it could even be moved. The answer comes hesitantly, suggesting the cage will be used immediately in an upcoming battle. The chief grows tense, sensing something is off. The trap is revealed when the cage suddenly snaps shut, trapping the giants inside. Eren flashes a peace sign with a confident smile as panic erupts among the giants, who shout that he planned everything from the start. Noah wonders why Eren is alone. He calmly explains that someone has been bothering him for a long time, describing it as a constant, unwanted presence. The explanation leaves her stunned as she tries to process it. Tears form as she lets out her fear of being hated. He quickly pulls back and clarifies that he was talking about someone else entirely. Vera appears nearby, silently watching through the falling snow. She studies her target closely, preparing to finish things. A giant woman appears behind Vera and asks why she's wandering alone in the snow. She warmly insists the cold is dangerous and invites Vera inside, mentioning a large feast prepared for that night. The giant cheerfully explains the traditional meal is hearty and meant to keep anyone warm as they walk together through the snowy village. Eren points out that the giant chief invited them to a feast while Odin is still trying to figure things out. Odin argues that if they understood what the demon hunter looks like, they could finally come up with a proper plan. Eren starts describing Vera's features. He continues detailing everything from her weapon to her body size. The chief welcomes them enthusiastically. They are greeted with exaggerated warmth inside the hall. He heads toward the table. Meanwhile, Odin confirms his sketches with Eren. The chief secretly plans to slip a sedative into their drinks with the help of another giant. He remarks that humans are deceitful and must be plotting something with the drinks. He decides to act fast and reminds the giant to keep quiet. The giant goes to another one to reveal the plan. He tells a second elder. The elder passes it on to a younger giant. Noah suddenly freezes as everything clicks. Listening to them, she clenches her fist and decides that this time she will be the one to protect Eren. Eren studies the drink and wonders if it's made from slime. The chief insists he drink, proudly presenting it as a rare specialty meant to honor him. Tension builds on both sides. While the chief pushes, Eren silently calculates. A heavy thud echoes as the cup is set down, buying time and drawing attention. Eren stands and says he wants to speak. The giants listen with growing curiosity as he reframes the meeting as goodwill and cooperation. He raises his hand and claims he's had several visions. Time passes as night deepens, showing the banquet has been delayed far longer than planned. Snow slides off rooftops as the cold intensifies outside. A giant warms himself by a small fire while roasting meat. The long explanation finally ends, leaving the giants confused. Eren declares he's finished, and urges everyone to start eating. The hall erupts in excitement as the giants celebrate being able to eat at last. A heavy wooden cup is shoved back into his hands, insisting he drink after talking so much. He convinces himself a small sip won't hurt. Noah rushes in panic, trying to stop him as he lifts the cup. He pauses confused and looks at her as she calls out. She steps forward with her hand out, desperately warning him not to drink. The cup ends up back on the table as she stands firmly in front of him, shielding him while everyone watches. Surprised, the chief tries to downplay her concern and insists the drink is harmless. Noah tells him to prove it by drinking first. She argues that as leader he should go first. The chief reluctantly agrees, saying it's for the tribe's future. Noah watches closely. The slime wine trembles as bubbles rise. The chief slams the cup on the table and erupts in anger. He declares dinner over and storms out, saying they should never have invited someone so rude. Noah grows furious, unable to believe they're being blamed. Odin quickly covers her mouth and restrains her. He drags her away as she kicks and protests. Eren stands there awkwardly. He tries to reassure himself, saying the cold iron cage is still ready as a backup. Tears well in his eyes as he steels his resolve. Vera stands in a snowy ravine. At dawn, Eren faces her once again. She grips her blade as he advances. He shouts while explaining what his new invention can do. He slams his fist into a skull-shaped device embedded in the ice and activates it with confidence. Iron bars drop around them as the cage snaps shut, trapping both Eren and Vera. Eren freezes in shock as he realizes something went horribly wrong. He yells in frustration after discovering the trigger mechanism was inside the trap itself. Now both of them are locked in with no way out. Eren forces a confident smile inside the cage and claims Vera has no way to defeat him. Vera immediately attacks the bars in anger, trying to reach him. He tells her she can't kill him or escape and should accept it. A small crack interrupts his confidence, and his expression shifts to concern. The iron bar in front of him fractures, and he panics, shouting for her to wait. She stays calm behind the damaged bars, staring straight at him. She places her scythe against the crack and starts grinding it down. He realizes too late that cold iron offers little resistance to magic and fears she might use it against him too. A chunk of iron falls between them, and he recoils in shock. She tries to squeeze through the gap while he orders her to stay back. She notices the opening is still too small and keeps weakening the bars. He steadies his breathing, trying to stay calm. Her gloved hand slides along the curved blade, and the bracelet on her wrist glows, catching his eye. He narrows his eyes and mutters her name, in disbelief. As she lands behind the broken bars, his eyes light up with a sudden idea, and he urgently tells her to stop and think. He raises his hand, realizing she can still hear him, meaning there's still a chance to negotiate. She watches without expression as he tries to threaten her, bringing up people she cares about. He says he can find her family and friends, and hints their safety isn't guaranteed. If she keeps going, he threatens to tell her family what she's done. She looks away without a word. He convinces himself that since she's human, she must have some weakness and offers to end everything in exchange for whatever she wants. He shows a bracelet as proof they share something in common and tries to appeal to her emotions. Her grip tightens on the scythe as he goes on about kindness and investments. He spreads his arms, passionately preaching peace and love. She stays silent, watching his gesture. Suddenly she pushes his hand away and resumes attacking the weakened bars. He realizes threats and bribes aren't working. Regret hits him, and he admits he trusted Junk too much, cursing his faulty trap. She pauses briefly while he twists anxiously, wondering if this is really the end. Her clothes tear as she squeezes through the bars. She slowly moves closer to him. He feels nothing and wonders if he's already dead. This time her hips get stuck between the iron bars. He slowly opens his eyes. Suddenly she crawls forward between the bars and startles him by saying she got stuck again. Her cheeks flush with embarrassment as he starts laughing. He recognizes her as Vera and reacts like the situation is absurdly coincidental. He starts teasing her for being stuck, but she snaps back, trying to grab him through the bars in frustration. He regains composure and begins speaking to her more formally. Then he asks if she knows what he's holding. He reveals a small green spray. He says he's going to use it and warns her not to blame him for what happens next. She stiffens against the bars as he brings the glowing green spray closer. He demands answers about why she's hunting him and who's behind it. He says she can confess peacefully or deal with the consequences. She turns her face away as he comments that only someone unhinged would act like this. He leans in and draws a small pig nose on her cheek with a permanent marker. He says he's just a regular guy trying to survive and reminds her she's just another worker who shouldn't lose sight of what matters. He yanks off the bracelet she values when she refuses to back down. Her eyes sharpen and she demands it back. He pauses, confused. He tosses the bracelet to the ground and remarks it took her 6 months to finally speak. She clenches her fist in anger. He casually suggests she go pick it up herself. He lifts the bracelet with a smug grin and warns that if she won't talk, he'll force the truth out if she resists. He says he can't guarantee where he'll shove the enchanted bracelet. A ridiculous image flashes of a unicorn biting a red apple, and her eyes widen at the implication. Vera remains stuck between the bars while Eren bitterly reflects that money can't fix this. Eren rubs his forehead, regretting making a deal with that so-called god. He grabs her cheeks and demands answers. He squeezes her face impatiently as his patience runs out. He pulls out a blade and claims it's coated in toxins, saying even a scratch would be enough to kill her. He brings the knife closer and says no one will save her. She calmly places a hand on his chest and stops him effortlessly. His confidence wavers and he falls silent. Eren quickly says he was joking. He insists he would never actually hurt Vera. The contract begins activating, and she grabs his arm while he watches in shock. A force violently pulls her forward, dragging her body toward him. As he trembles behind the bars, she clings to him, trying to resist, but the force doesn't stop and slams them into the cage. He smashes his face against the bars. Her hand reaches the weapon lying on the frozen ground. Vera slowly stands up with the weapon in hand. As Eren shouts, demanding to know the contract terms before dying, he begs her to treat it as a condemned man's final request. She stands before him and admits she can't reveal anything about the deal. He offers his precious bracelet, then coldly says she'll just take it after he's dead anyway. He pauses, removes his hood, and tells her to accept death with regret. If she refuses, he hints it has something to do with sight. She calmly explains that from the moment she sees him until he leaves her line of sight, she can track him. He argues it makes no sense and tries to find a loophole, but she cuts him off, saying she's already said enough. He nods seriously and accepts that his time is up with a crooked smile. He jokes that dying at the hands of someone that pretty wouldn't be the worst ending. He says his only regret is not being able to place the bracelet on her wrist and hold a girl's hand before dying. She watches him in silence. He blinks in confusion when she suddenly reaches out her hand. He gently takes her hand while still holding the bracelet. He slowly places the bracelet into her pocket. She looks at him with a restrained expression as the bracelet settles on her arm. He thanks her for the chance and says he'll treasure what he got. He holds her hand and declares he'll value this life. As sunrise shines through the bars, he jumps back and starts laughing, revealing she overlooked a limitation of the contract. He states she can't act during the day and reminds her how short northern nights are. She lowers her voice and asks if everything was a lie. As he feels an unexpected guilt, her gaze turns cold as she says not only the gods but even he is part of a lie. Shadows fall over his face as he senses danger and mutters a warning. She unleashes a barrage of attacks with her scythe while he yells for her to calm down. He panics, convinced he's about to die. While she stands firm within the storm she created, she raises her weapon with a cold expression as ice forms in the air. Chunks of snow gather around her like a frozen crown, and his eyes widen in shock. A distant mountain is sliced in half, and he jumps in fear as the ground behind her collapses from the force. He shouts that she's gone too far by cutting a mountain in half. Snow bursts down the slope as both are thrown by the shockwave. She declares with fierce resolve that she will never let him escape. Eren keeps falling while watching the snowdrift around him. The frozen cliff glows under the setting sun as the giants observe the aftermath. In stunned silence, they try to understand what just happened. One of them hesitantly mentions seeing Eren walking there the day before. The chief urgently demands an explanation. Suddenly, a hand appears and grips the icy edge. Their eyes widen as Eren pulls himself up with a fierce look. She lands lightly in front of them. He casually asks why they're all gathered there, as if nothing happened. One giant suddenly drops to his knees on the ice. The others bow deeply and swear eternal loyalty to Eren. They beg to receive divine power. Odin angrily demands to know what really happened the night before. Eren calmly admits he doesn't remember clearly either. He tells Odin to stop asking as one of the giants carries him. Odin keeps shouting that he needs answers, complaining that no one ever explains anything to him. Amid the chaos, they return to the giant's castle. Odin taps Eren's shoulder to get his attention. He leans in and quietly asks if Eren can explain what happened the previous night. Eren replies that it's hard to talk about. Odin insists he can't believe Eren would rather forget such a brutal fight. He presses further, asking if Eren can at least reveal the demon's name. Eren hesitates before answering. Noah appears outside, greeting Odin and asking about Eren. Odin begins to mutter Vera's name. As he approaches Noah, he says everything suddenly makes sense while she looks at him confused. Noah loses patience and tells him to get a grip. She crosses her arms and scolds him. He insists that just hearing that forbidden name shakes him deeply. He warns her not to interfere with names given by Eren. Noah snaps, saying Odin has completely lost it. Eren greets Noah cheerfully and asks how she's been enjoying the past few days. She repeats the question to herself while recalling moments, mixing imagined closeness with chaotic memories. The memories shift into harsher flashes of what really happened. He assumes she had a great time and says he'll leave the team behind so she can stay and enjoy herself as long as she wants. She suddenly yells for him to wait and demands to know where he thinks he's going. He states he's leaving to find a woman who means everything to him. She punches him hard and calls him an idiot for saying something so ridiculous. She storms off in tears while he stands there, stunned and confused. He rubs his cheek and mutters in frustration. Eren turns and starts writing on a board. His eyes harden as he begins planning. Standing before a board full of scribbles and symbols, he tells himself the information he gathered will help next time, even if this attempt ended in chaos. He insists that this time they need to find on foot the key connected to everything. He urgently asks Shell for help, describing the target as someone human-like but strangely rare, almost otherworldly. Shell calmly asks for specific details about the woman's height and appearance. He confidently states that the person he's looking for is a woman. She hesitates, then agrees to begin the search. When he returns to his domain, he emphasizes that this matter is tied to his survival and that he's placing his life in her hands. She seems to take his words in a more romantic way. Shyly, she suggests making a proper portrait as a reference. Since the search is so important, he murmurs that a drawing would definitely help. He kneels in the snow, wondering where he can find an artist. His thoughts are interrupted when he sees a red-haired girl being dragged by a stubborn unicorn. The girl insists she's the expedition's official artist, and that her scattered sketches are important records. He crouches and picks up one of the fallen pages. The sheet reveals a detailed portrait of him. He sits beside the artist and questions her style. She proudly claims it's realistic. He pauses, trying to find polite words, then bluntly tells her to redo it. The giants wave as Eren and his group depart with the caravan. The chief wipes away tears of relief and mutters that the walking disasters are finally gone. The caravan moves through the frozen landscape. As Aaron reviews the finished artwork and admits it's accurate, he still feels uneasy. The portrait shows Vera in a seductive pose. Aaron stares at the image in disbelief and complains that she looks almost divine and oddly familiar. The artist remarks that she never expected to see that outfit again. She explains that during one of her trips, she came across strange villagers wearing similar clothes at a festival. His expression hardens as he realizes what that implies. The crowd erupts in celebration as he returns to the city. He heads straight back to the Merchant Guild. He slams his hand on the table and urgently orders every available resource to be used to find the person in the portrait. The president trembles while holding the drawing as Aaron assures him money won't be an issue. Aaron suddenly finds himself surrounded by a growing swarm of giant snails. Panic spreads across his face as he tries to make sense of what's happening. He calls out to Vera after recognizing her. Vera appears and walks through the snails. He jolts upright in shock, realizing the weekend has come again. He breaks into a sweat remembering how many snails there were in his dream. When someone knocks on the door, the president informs him that missing person notices have already been spread across the country. The president jokes that even powerful figures can't forget their first love and says he's no exception to worldly temptations. He keeps pushing Aaron to reveal which woman stole his heart, but Aaron brushes it off. Aaron states that the woman in question is so dangerous she doesn't just make hearts race, she can stop them entirely. The city is already celebrating, with banners hanging across the streets and confetti falling as crowds gather in excitement. Taryn notes that the streets feel more lively than usual, while the president enthusiastically explains that everyone is celebrating the hero's safe return. A massive banner of Aaron hangs behind the crowd as an artist dramatizes how he supposedly fought fierce giants. She excitedly describes how Aaron performed a miracle so great it split a mountain in half. The crowd reacts with awe and excitement. A married woman laments that her husband could never match Aaron's courage. The artist shows another drawing of Aaron drinking with the giant chief. People admire a trio of unicorns, calling them sacred and divine, while children offer apples in admiration. An apple flies off course, and chaos breaks out. When someone gets kicked away, a trio watches the commotion. While one complains about drawing attention in broad daylight, another warns them not to attract notice. A determined woman reminds them that their mission is to recover the unicorn, and failure will have serious consequences. She approaches a child and apologizes for her companion. The man admits he's the son of the Merchant Guild leader and says the woman is there because of him. The woman and the child mock him for acting like an idiot. He yells and threatens them, saying they should wait until his uncle dies. Furious, he declares he'll do whatever he wants. The president calls him an animal while kicking him from behind. He states that the man is only there because of his father. The man fires back, asking if the one who secured the unicorns is any different. The president points at Aaron and praises him as a hero, saying he can't be compared. The woman turns when she hears Aaron's name. She approaches him, trying to confirm if it's really him. The scholar formally introduces herself as a member of an ancient civilization tasked with recovering the unicorn and studying the giants. Aaron responds with hidden interest. Noah shouts for her father at home, saying their house has lost its purity. Her father arrives furious, complaining about the disgrace, until a servant gets his attention and the hallway falls silent. When the door closes, Noah looks around, wondering where her father went. The servant gently points out her impatience but admits he might be overstepping, suggesting her recent trip wasn't as smooth as it seemed. He reveals he has watched her grow up and won't stay passive anymore. He offers to personally teach her how to win the affection of the person she wants. She stares wide-eyed and asks if he's serious. The scholar explains that the ruins of the ancient king and the lost mural tied to a protected excavation are extremely important to the current world. Aaron sincerely thanks her for everything she has done for him. He admits he's embarrassed because he's been researching a lost race recently, and the mystery has been giving him a headache. The scholar reacts in shock, saying discovering a lost race would shake the entire world. Aaron asks for her department to officially join the investigation and offers to take her directly to the archives to study the case. At that moment, Kent storms in, accusing Aaron of corrupting his daughter and deceiving other young women. Caught off guard, Aaron is confused for a moment by the accusation. A guard rushes in, reporting that someone has broken into the Chamber of Commerce and destroyed the ancient scepter. While Kent insists the artifact means nothing compared to his daughter's purity, the scholar immediately recognizes the broken scepter as the powerful relic Aaron had previously found. Kent desperately begs for his life and even offers Noah as collateral. The scholar urgently insists that Noah shouldn't be spared either, leaving Kent sweating in panic. Aaron loses patience and declares the whole argument ridiculous, reminding everyone that a broken wooden staff isn't a reason to kill anyone. A map is brought out as someone announces they have located the remote village in question. The group gathers as the artist explains she stumbled upon the mysterious place by chance during her travels, eventually reaching its entrance after a series of strange events. Aaron questions how they could reach such a remote location, with no roads and total darkness, without running into trouble. A dragon flies across the sky as Aaron admits money won't solve this, and says the only option is crossing the dangerous peak above the clouds. He reveals it's currently the breeding season of the Dragon Queen, and admits that ordinary strength won't be enough to negotiate passage. The stall owner notes that Aaron's bracelet matches Vera's, who had visited before, and wonders if there's a connection between them. A younger version of Vera appears quietly sitting on the bench. Noah reacts in confusion and asks her father to repeat what he said. Kent starts rambling about young love and praises Aaron as an exceptional man. Suddenly he grows cautious and begins calculating financial risks. He imagines a solution where marriage would eliminate all money concerns. He clears his throat and firmly encourages Noah to get closer to Aaron. Noah collapses into a chair, insisting she can't compete. She laments that she failed to win Erin's heart and feels she falls short of expectations, while he recalls how he won her mother's affection through persistence and confidence. Noah bluntly replies that he probably used money more than charm. He proudly claims wealth is its own kind of charm, and declares money can buy unwavering devotion. Noah fires back that this mindset has nothing to do with real love. She questions why someone like Erin would ever be interested in her. The servant quietly mentions that Odin is always near Erin, causing Kent to panic briefly before misunderstanding the situation. Noah bitterly comments that Erin came back looking for Vera and didn't even notice her. Kent and the servant feel relieved, at least he likes women. Kent concludes that if a man like Erin focuses on one woman, she must be incredibly special. Noah realizes this could mean Vera is Erin's first love, and it's speculated she might be an unattainable ideal in his heart. As Noah grows discouraged, Kent coldly suggests that if that dream has already fallen apart and the woman is now ordinary, it could be exploited. Noah refuses to believe the real Vera is something so mundane and holds on to doubt, while Kent concludes that with enough money, reality can be shaped and anyone could be turned into the Vera they want. Noah is shocked by her father's absurd idea of creating a fake rival to manipulate Erin's feelings. Kent declares that love is a battlefield and promises to fight without mercy for her. He claims even wolves need bait and ignores morality, suggesting honesty and business rarely go together. Noah narrows her eyes and questions why he changed his attitude so suddenly. Kent tries to play it off with fake innocence, noticing her suspicion growing. Noah demands he confess while he still can. In the city of Glowlight stands the Merchant Guild. The artist and Odin discuss their plans inside the guild hall. Meanwhile, Erin holds written instructions and explains how to contact Zisa. Erin asks if there are any new leads on the mysterious lost race they are investigating. Odin replies that there is a small town far beyond the borders of Monstar. The records describe a dark clan that ruled the region and only moved at night, earning the name Eternal Night due to their ominous presence. Erin listens and smirks slightly. He adds that some descendants still exist, even though the clan has declined. He points out that the real issue isn't their history, but how to reach the remote place where they lived. He explains that the plan isn't to fight but to win over the dragons. He states that dragons don't truly hate humans and see them as small, even somewhat cute creatures. Erin sighs and admits that persuading the dragons peacefully might be the best option for now. Suddenly a voice announces that the mysterious woman named Vera has been brought to him, making his eyes widen. He immediately goes on alert. He shouts that he only wanted to find her, not have her brought by force. When the president enters with a silver-haired woman behind him, she smiles confidently as Erin tenses and asks who exactly she is. She teases him, saying he should take responsibility for an intense night. She loudly claims to be the woman he desires and demands compensation as she's dragged away. Erin dismisses it and orders them to remove the imposter. But the president urges caution and draws his attention outside by opening the window, and Erin's eyes narrow as he senses trouble. A chaotic crowd of hooded women argues and shoves each other, all claiming to be the real Vera. As insults fly, Erin looks at the president with a dark expression. The situation spirals out of control, and the president panics, promising to fix everything immediately. Noah storms down the main street dragging Kent, declaring he must apologize to Erin for trying to sell her. She firmly states that Kent will go with her to apologize right away. Kent shouts that a simple apology won't cover the cost of the destroyed artifact and warns they'll still be buried in debt. She stumbles forward in desperation as he grabs her sleeve, and through tears she admits she feels trapped by an impossible debt. She recalls that Erin saved her life and that she now owes him more than she could repay in a lifetime. Afraid of what he thinks of her, she blames her father and cries, saying Erin must see her as nothing but a burden. Kent lowers his voice and suggests a shameful plan. Noah snaps back angrily, saying he hasn't done anything useful. She drags Kent toward the crowd of hooded women, insisting they will go apologize to Erin together. She starts hitting her father's head, crying that her future is ruined. In her frustration, she ends up punching one of the hooded women. The hooded woman snaps back, saying anyone claiming to be Vera should line up properly, making Noah question if that's really the Vera Erin is looking for. Noah demands to know how they know that name, and nervously asks if the real Vera is nearby. The entire hooded crowd turns toward her at once and asks if she's talking to them. She struggles to process what's happening. Two hooded women mock her and suggest she came to steal the name for the reward. Noah protests, saying her name is Noah, and stumbles through an explanation that she's Erin's companion. The hooded woman bursts out laughing, mocking her for not even remembering the name right. One of them says to just ignore Noah and calls her companion an old man. They start arguing while Noah grabs a flyer and sits on a bench. She studies the poster announcing the search for Vera. Noah admits she didn't think her father's assumption would be right. She sighs, wondering whether she should keep going or give up. She imagines a scene where Vera abandons Erin. Someone begs Vera to stay. Noah appears like an angel, saying she'll fill the emptiness in Erin's heart. She laughs at her own fantasy. She snaps back to reality when another hooded woman walks by. She comments on how small the hooded girl looks. Noah wonders if the girl's family is so desperate that they sent her out to work for money. The president interrupts everyone, announcing the chaos was caused by a misunderstanding, and declares that, as compensation, each person will receive a free loaf of bread. A bread stall is set up outside with a notice limiting it to one per person while supplies last. The president formally ends the event and asks everyone to take their compensation and leave in an orderly way. The crowd explodes in anger, accusing him and demanding refunds. The president responds arrogantly as objects are thrown at him. The crowd surges forward. A boy and a girl watch the chaos while managing the bread stall. Then someone calls out, claiming to be Vera and asking for bread. The girl leans forward, teasingly asking if she's also named Vera, calling her cute. A small Vera appears at the stall and firmly repeats that she wants bread too. She points to the largest loaf and says she wants that one. The boy hesitates and warns it's too big, but the girl says the child's determination shows she believes in her choice. Vera's eyes shine brightly when she's praised as someone special. Vera walks off carrying the huge loaf while Noah watches in confusion. She sits next to Noah with a loaf nearly as big as her body. Noah lets out a squeal, thinking she looks incredibly cute hugging the oversized bread. Noah notices the bracelet the child is wearing and wonders if it matches the one she saw before. Excited, Noah offers to buy Vera's bracelet with a bag of gold so she can study instead of working. Suddenly she remembers there's only one pair of those bracelets and grows suspicious. Noah gently calls Vera, but the girl burps. Vera burps loudly again and Noah panics but says not to worry and promises to get water as she runs off. Vera stays seated. As soon as Noah leaves, she stands up immediately and prepares to go. She moves to a corner to hide. The small hooded girl transforms into a woman wearing an elegant black outfit. A cup of water drops to the ground. Noah clutches her chest, wondering if what she saw was some kind of magic trick. As Vera watches, someone looks over the courtyard and notices only a few people remain where there was chaos before. Aaron mutters about the unbelievable scene he just witnessed. The president says the crowd is already dispersed and apologizes for the chaos. He cautiously brings up the earlier strategy and asks if Aaron needs help from the Mage Association. Odin asks if the president also handles personnel matters. The president asks Aaron if he has heard of Cradle and shows a decorative plaque symbolizing their partnership. Cradle is the capital's Mage Association, whose students excel in every field. Witches and magic reinforce the idea that any mage from that academy is highly skilled and reliable. Aaron admits with an odd smile that he has some history with them. They arrive at the main gate of the association, trying to reassure themselves everything will be fine. That confidence disappears when they see a notice board with Aaron's portrait crossed out at the Chamber of Commerce. On the second floor, the president nervously asks what the young man did to end up on Cradle's blacklist of the century. Aaron casually replies that he just got rid of a few people. The president admits that high-level mages are rare these days. He mentions having a distant relative who just graduated from Cradle. Aaron immediately demands the graduate be brought in and promises to pay 10 times the usual rate. Half an hour later, tension fills the room as a pink-haired woman and Aaron face each other. They shift positions while Aaron grabs an apple, and she introduces herself as Celine, casually saying she expected a shady merchant. She teases him about his age while taking a bite of the apple. Aaron is impressed by her display of magic and eagerly asks to tag along and try it himself. She calmly refuses, taking another bite. He drops onto the couch beside her and complains he wanted that trick to avoid someone. She questions his arrogance, saying magic isn't something you just pick up overnight. She proudly states she mastered it through talent and training under the legendary mage Magdalene. Aaron recalls Magdalene fighting Vera and silently roots for her. He shouts Magdalene's name in shock as Vera defeats her. Celine explains that Magdalene retired suddenly. She then brings up Alan, known as the Academy's rising star. A memory flashes of Aaron cheering for Alan as she claims a simple mental attack would crush her opponent. Vera stays calm with her weapon as the attack backfires on Alan, leaving her exposed and humiliated. Celine notes that Alan's own magic turned against her and adds that she hasn't visited the academy in a while. Aaron abruptly tells her to forget the past and join the team right away. He opens a map, points to the marked destination, and explains time is tight, they need to leave immediately to arrive before nightfall. She looks surprised and asks if it's really that urgent. Odin, worn out, says he wants to see a demon with his own eyes. Aaron turns toward the open window and warns that seeing something like that isn't something they'd actually want. Suddenly he stiffens, sensing a familiar presence, and asks why Noah is there. He calls out to her, asking what she's doing. She insists she has something important to say in person. Aaron tries to make sense of Noah's claim that she saw a younger version of Vera. Noah gets frustrated and explains that the person she saw isn't the Vera he's thinking of. She clutches her head, struggling to recall the details. Aaron questions her behavior and warns her not to joke about Vera, since it's a life or death matter for him. Tears well up in her eyes as she denies lying. He reluctantly agrees and says they need to move on to the next location. Even so, she stands firm and insists she would never deceive him. He glances sideways, unsure whether to trust her or not. Moana listens with narrowed eyes while Odin concludes she followed them for a reason. The carriage moves along a river between steep cliffs as tension lingers and Odin stiffly admits fault. While the others stay busy, Celine questions whether this decision makes any sense. She presses a hand to her forehead, thinking this job might have been a mistake. A sudden violent strike hits the carriage from outside. The vehicle is thrown off the cliff. The group loses balance as they realize a wyvern is attacking. Aaron shouts for Odin. Odin pulls a lever. Understanding the situation, the wooden carriage breaks apart and transforms into a metal sphere. The newly formed sphere bounces down the rocky slope as it plunges toward the forest below. It finally lands among the trees, where small mechanical legs stabilize it on the ground. Aaron holds his head, checks on the others, and wonders why a wyvern would attack so far from its nest. Odin insists they're safe for now since the vehicle is a battlefield relic built to withstand heavy damage. Aaron looks outside, trying to figure out where they ended up. His expression shifts to alertness. Noticing something outside, he shouts a warning. The wyvern's claws latch onto the metal sphere. The creature lifts the entire sphere into the air. The group panics, unsure where they're being taken. The wyvern drops the sphere from above. The sphere crashes down and breaks apart. The group coughs as they struggle out of the wreckage. Aaron asks if everyone is okay as he slowly stands. Noah looks at the massive mountain while Odin says it's the wyvern's nest. More wyverns surround them as someone recognizes Aaron from behind. The group turns around. Two men recognize him with relief and sit down, clearly glad he arrived. Aaron confirms whether he was called to treat the wyvern queen. A biologist explains that wyverns are intelligent and need their help. Aaron turns and asks who's behind him. He's surprised to see a scruffy man dressed like a member of a primitive tribe. The man apologizes for startling him and explains the females lack manners, adding that city doctors refuse to help once they learn who the patient is. He adds that he heard about Aaron's heroic reputation during visits to the Radiant City, and admits he had no choice but to take extreme measures to bring them here. Aaron points at him and demands to know what he expects from someone who isn't even a real doctor. After bringing him there, the man drops to his knees and begs for help. He explains that a strange illness is spreading among the wyverns. Aaron's expression turns serious as he asks if it's affecting their minds too. They are led to the massive queen, weakened in her domain, right inside the nest. The man reassures her, saying Aaron is there to help and everything will be fine. He explains the sickness began after the queen laid a strange egg. Aaron asks if the egg is poisonous, and the man confirms it is. Celine cuts in, saying it's not poison but a curse. A strange purple substance hints at the nature of the problem. Celine and the biologist theorize that the curse may have developed naturally as a defensive response in the wyvern's genes. The biologist concludes that since the wyverns kept their bloodline pure for so long, mixing with outside blood may have triggered an extreme reaction that manifested as this curse. Celine and the biologist step back when the vial containing the purple substance suddenly bursts. Celine explains that the egg has effectively become an active source of the curse. The scaled egg trembles beneath the queen's wing in the nest. Suddenly it starts to float and the group realizes it's still releasing the curse. Several wyverns fly wildly into the sky, while the queen seems unable to control them. The man watches in confusion as Aaron and Noah grow tense. The floating egg pulses with an ominous glow. The man begins to sweat as he realizes things are getting out of control. Aaron tilts his head, wondering how a bloodline rejection could happen so suddenly if an outsider caused it. The biologist concludes the only explanation is impurity within the lineage. Aaron demands to know why the experts can't fix the issue. Celine suggests that a purification gem might be their only hope. She tells a legend about water elves guarding a sacred jewel capable of dispelling any curse. She explains it's an ancient artifact hidden deep in the forest and nearly impossible to obtain. Aaron considers the possibility. Then he suddenly remembers he has some stones that glow at night and wonders if they might help. He shows a belt lined with glowing gems. Celine immediately rejects the idea, saying those are sacred relics forbidden even to kings. Aaron gets excited by the discovery. Odin rushes in, reporting that the egg has been stolen. The man clutches the dark egg to his chest and begs Aaron not to chase anyone. Noah runs after him in panic, telling him to stop, trusting Aaron will find a solution. The man apologizes, saying his lack of control caused this disaster. A green slime wraps around his ankle, stopping him from moving. The egg slips from his hands and he shouts as it rolls across the rocky ground before stopping. Aaron steps forward and pulls out a device. He calls it Brief of Green and says it's extremely versatile. He lifts the egg and is surprised by how heavy it is. He carefully examines its texture. Celine suggests using the glowing gems to purify it. The group watches closely, bracing for what's about to happen. The egg in Aaron's hands begins to glow with a golden light. The man insists he's acting for the greater good and demands the egg be thrown into the lake to stop the curse from spreading. Aaron and Celine exchange confused looks. The glowing egg starts to crack, and a small hand emerges from inside. Aaron and Noah stare at the broken egg and realize something has been born. They're stunned as Noah finds the creature adorable, while Aaron questions its bizarre appearance. Half dragon, half human. Inside the shell is a small baby with gray hair, red horns, and draconic features. Noah insists it's just a genetic mutation. Aaron disagrees, while Celine suggests the mutation itself might be the true source of the curse. A wyvern opens its mouth behind her, but the queen steps in and blocks the attack. The group panics, unable to understand why the curse hasn't disappeared. Aaron looks at the man suspiciously and questions how an ordinary human survived alone in such a place. The man calmly begins to answer and reveals that he is actually the father of the egg. The entire group is shocked by the revelation. The man explains that jealous colleagues pushed him off a cliff out of envy for his research. He says the queen intervened at the last moment and saved his life. He recalls how the queen believed in peace between humans and dragons. The ragged man admits he crossed a forbidden line and let love override reason. The small horned hatchling stays awake, quietly observing. The group panics as the wyverns slowly surround him. The baby cries from within the shell. Aaron holds the egg and realizes something extraordinary is happening. The nearby wyverns sense the change. Then Celine steps forward and declares that the curse has suddenly been broken. The ragged man watches in disbelief and murmurs that the curse is finally gone. The queen lowers her head and gently nudges him. He leans against the dragon's snout and whispers his thanks, eyes filled with tears. Noah celebrates, saying love can create miracles and was also the source of their troubles. The ragged man grabs Aaron's hands and, deeply moved, thanks him for saving the entire wyvern tribe. Aaron awkwardly brushes off the gratitude and insists they should leave right away since they've already lost too much time. The queen offers to carry them, shocking the group when they realize she can speak. She explains that an ancient seal had been suppressing her consciousness and voice. Aaron quickly tells her to lead the way, and the dragon agrees before taking flight. As her wings beat strongly, Noah wonders how a human and a dragon could have a child. Celine lets out an awkward laugh, and from above, as a dragon flies between jagged cliffs, the wyvern suddenly drops and lands hard. They arrive at an abandoned city marked by a worn archway and empty streets. The queen explains that centuries ago her clan declared the place forbidden, and no humans have lived there since. Celine and Noah notice silent figures standing still in the shadows inside the buildings. Noah mutters that the place feels hostile to outsiders. A young stranger reacts to their presence. Aaron tries to speak to him, but the man warns him not to stand in his way. Suddenly, a heavy sack is thrown to the ground with a thud. Aaron shows a portrait of Vera and asks if he has seen her. The man studies the image and says her clothes resemble theirs, but admits he has lived there for over a decade without ever seeing her. Aaron presses, saying there are no outsiders and demanding information about the Evernight clan. The man hesitates and pretends to think. Finally, he coldly says that any information about the clan will cost more. Aaron reluctantly agrees to pay extra and tells Celine to handle it her way. Celine replies that she works for money, not blind loyalty. She conjures a fierce flame in her hand. Aaron pushes the man to tell the truth. Nervous, he insists he knows nothing about Evernight and tries to calm things down. He explains the story was invented by elders during past wars, and that the name was only adopted a few generations ago to survive. Aaron narrows his eyes with a knowing smile. Night falls over the abandoned village. As the houses begin to light up, the group decides to stay there, complaining about the rough conditions of the place. Odin notices Celine is gone and wonders where she went. Aaron reveals she rented a room for herself and tells the others to ignore it for now and explore the town later. Celine gets annoyed at being ordered around and decides to prepare a special potion that will make Aaron completely obedient to her. She conjures a bubbling purple mixture and admires it proudly. Aaron opens the door and asks what she wants. With a smug smile, Celine presents the potion as purple smoke bursts toward his face. She casually apologizes while dragging Aaron. Suddenly, she throws him onto the bed and declares she won't bow to a show-off rookie. She gathers glowing magic in her hands and says a future great lady shouldn't be treated like a servant. She says a master-servant pact will finally turn things in her favor. She announces she's going straight into his soul. Her expression shifts as she senses something unexpected inside him. Her vision turns into a nightmare-like scene. Twisted horns and blazing fire under a red sky. She wonders what kind of hell he has faced. Shadowy creatures with glowing red eyes rise from the flames. Celine realizes that world is reacting to her presence and trying to expel her as an intruder. She understands that his mental realm is attempting to eliminate her. The dark figures charge as she vanishes. She smirks and decides to fight back. Fire ignites in her hand as she launches a powerful attack. She spins midair with 2 fireballs and dives toward a shadowy creature. The flames explode on impact, forcing the creatures back. She lands lightly and keeps attacking, taking down 2 more figures. She summons a radiant magic circle and releases a massive burst of energy that devastates the area. Then she extinguishes the flames as the smoke fades. She notes that forming the contract should now be possible and that it seems easier than expected. A dark presence rises behind her. She stiffens and questions the situation in disbelief. As she realizes what's behind her, she understands the truth. A contract is already in place. A massive hooded entity with glowing red eyes emerges from the burning ground before her. Odin and Noah rush into the room while Celine lies on top of Aaron on the bed. Noah looks at the scene while Odin freezes in place. Aaron and Celine wake up, confused about what's going on. Noah rubs her eyes as Aaron holds his head and they stare at each other. She realizes the contract attempt failed, while he, annoyed, asks how she ended up on top of him. Shocked, she reacts to the idea of taking orders from him. She drops to her knees and crying says she will obey him and takes all the blame. He asks what kind of nonsense that is and says the whole situation is a mess. He gets up and decides to look for answers on his own. He says he's going outside to investigate while she nervously asks if she can come along. He tells everyone to mind their own business as Noah and Odin follow him out. Noah, confused, questions his behavior and asks what's going on. She looks at a mirror while holding a black cloak and wonders if it's what the locals wear and whether Aaron would like it. She thinks about putting it on and decides to wear it. Aaron suddenly freezes as he notices something. His expression hardens as he remembers how little time he has left. He recalls how close Vera came to killing him and wonders where he could even run. He suddenly stops, hearing something. He spots a villager sitting beside a basket of eggs. Aaron grabs the man as he tries to flee and demands answers about Vera. The villager nervously insists no one has seen her and hurriedly claims everything is shutting down. Aaron loses his temper, orders him to stop lying, and demands the truth. The man finally admits the girl they're looking for was the last of the Evernight tribe and that she supposedly died long ago. The truth surfaces in a chilling confession. The entire town acted together, and the person they sought had already been killed. Aaron shakes the villager and demands exact details. The man panics and says they were forced, calling the child impure. He explains that even as a kid, Vera already had terrifying strength. Aaron questions how ordinary people managed to kill someone that powerful. The villager admits they used deception since she was young and easy to trick. He struggles to recall more details. When pressed about her appearance, he finally remembers blood-red eyes, sending a chill through Aaron. The villager hesitantly suggests the person Aaron seeks might be that same girl. Aaron orders him to lead him to the burial site immediately, and the man quickly agrees. On the way, the villager questions whether digging up a grave is right. Once there, he tries to open the already unearthed coffin. He looks inside, confused, insisting he saw Vera die himself. Aaron tries to make sense of her return. He asks why the villagers who killed her even bothered with a coffin. The man says it was an old woman's idea, someone who begged them. Aaron asks if he truly saw Vera buried. The villager, shaken, realizes the old woman must have saved her. He lashes out, saying they should burn the old woman. Aaron kicks him from behind for saying they did the right thing. He mocks the villager and demands to know where the old woman is. Aaron warns the trembling man to stay quiet, reminding him he only has one night to cooperate. In a town this small, the villager protests that finding her in one night is nearly impossible. Aaron coldly replies that it's his problem and reminds him of the consequences of defying him. He reflects that the clues are finally coming together and that even someone with such a tragic past could still be a victim of this hunt. He feels the next encounter will be the decisive battle. Odin approaches, worried about Aaron's long absence, and asks if he found anything useful. Aaron replies that he has promising leads and expects to resolve things soon. Odin asks him to call Noah for dinner. Aaron knocks on Noah's door and says the food is ready. When there's no answer, he calls again, more softly. He slowly opens the door, looks inside, and asks if she's there. His eyes widen in shock when he sees her. He braces himself, realizing the timing is off. He concludes he's cornered with no way out. He moves forward and grabs the hooded woman from behind. He demands she face him, saying he's ready to fight to the end. He curses the cruel deal he made with a god and admits he regrets it year after year. They roll across the floor as the struggle turns chaotic. He declares that if he has to die, so be it, and vows to confront the cursed god. He grabs her cloak and demands to know why she's running. If she wanted to kill him before, he tears off the cloak and demands she do it now. He wraps himself in the fabric, saying he has nothing left to lose. As the cloak covers them, Noah repeats his words, completely misunderstanding. She tries to make sense of it, wondering if he truly feels that way. Aaron keeps saying he won't run anymore while struggling with the cloak. Noah lies down, blushing, and calls out to him. She says he has to take responsibility and agrees, even if reluctantly. Aaron suddenly stops as he hears a familiar voice. He looks in disbelief and slowly lowers the hood. Shocked, he realizes it's Noah and asks why she's there, questioning her state. Noah looks at herself confused, trying to understand what he meant. Suddenly, loud knocks pound on the door as an angry voice calls for Aaron, hurling insults. Aaron stands frozen for a moment with a handprint on his face. They scramble up in panic, insisting he never meant for this to happen. Odin calmly says Noah already left and that the villagers found the old woman. Aaron tenses immediately. He denies doing anything and asks about the book Odin is holding. Odin explains he found old records in the town's library about the Evernight tribe and paid a lot for them. Aaron takes the book and starts reading. Odin comments that the tribe's power changes over time. Aaron agrees that matches the current situation. He flips to an illustration showing the tribe being hunted and burned in the past, explaining why they're so good at hiding now. Odin reads that the tribe endured a long and miserable history and notices a final detail. He explains that the Evernight tribe is known for having extremely poor memory. The villager rushes in with news that they found someone. Aaron reacts instantly and leaves without hesitation. He calls for Celine to get ready. She responds eagerly and follows him. She asks where they're headed, and Aaron explains they're looking for an important elder. She complains about the long walk and how remote the place is, falling behind. While Aaron stays focused, the villager says they're almost there. Aaron grows suspicious and asks if the man is trying to trick them. The villager clasps his hands, swears he's telling the truth, and begs them to trust him. Aaron relents and tells them to keep moving. The villager mentions the old woman they're seeking is elderly and forgetful. Aaron narrows his eyes and says he already knows how to handle it. He thinks this means dealing with yet another person with memory issues. The villager points to a small house at the end of the path and says they've arrived. Celine sighs in relief and says she'll handle it herself. Aaron grabs her by the collar and pulls her back. She stumbles, confused, and asks what he's doing. Aaron tells her to calm down and show some respect. She repeats the word in disbelief, saying someone like him has no right to talk about that. He exhales, annoyed, and says he'll take the lead in the conversation. He raises his hand to knock and calls out cautiously. The old woman opens the door carefully and asks who he is as he stands outside the modest house. She serves a drink and assumes he's just a traveler. She comments that only someone reckless would come all the way out to such an isolated place. Aaron says he came out of curiosity to see the Evernight tribe for himself. Vera replies that kind of curiosity takes courage. She reflects that the world is rarely simple and judging an entire people based on rumors is unfair. She talks about how fate guides everything and how many have tried to resist it in vain. He responds that much of the world feels irrational. The old woman chuckles softly and says he's interesting. He starts to say that if he were forced to accept certain terms, he'd rather reject them. The old woman pauses and asks if it's already time for breakfast. Aaron watches her closely, silently wondering if she truly remembers nothing. He questions whether her condition is real or if the trail has gone cold again. Suddenly she asks what day it is, and Aaron says it's Saturday. As Vera stands by the window, she mentions Vera and suggests the girl must have been trouble for him. Sunlight spreads across the empty floor as the moment lingers. He looks toward the window in silence. Bright flowers sway under the clear sky. She gently holds a picture of herself with Vera and thanks her for everything. And that's where the story wraps up. If you enjoyed it, drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you made it this far, comment the secret word lone hero. That's it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.